wanted to get into some Senior Bowl questions. These are on NFL.com, but I think this is a good time to do it. You know why? Senior Bowl practices start today at 1:30, I believe, on the NFL Network. You can check them out, and they go through Thursday. So actually, I'm sorry, it's 12:30, so they've already started, and they go through Thursday, and then the game is going to be on Saturday. Now, for significance there, the Cowboys typically pick somebody they saw in the Senior Bowl.
Right?
They love themselves some Senior Bowl, and I bet Broadus is going to have, or if he hasn't already, has a list, and if not, I bet Bobby has a list of players they've drafted that they've seen at Senior Bowl that they were like, oh man, that's a guy that we're going to take. So keep an eye on some players and some players you might want at certain positions to know what's going on there. But yeah, again, check it out if you want to on NFL Network and NFL Plus. You can watch all the practices if you have one of those subscriptions. The first question, and I think this is significant if you are in the camp that having another backup quarterback isn't a bad idea. And are we bringing Cooper Rush back? Guarantee? Do you guys want him back?
I can't guarantee it, but I think they're going to try. It just might get too. Same thing with Donovan Wilson. It just might get too rich for them.
Mike, would you rather have Cooper Rush come back or draft and start like grooming and cropping one?
Well, my true answer is both. I do agree with the Ron Wolf philosophy in Green Bay, even though they had Brett Favre. Let's just keep drafting quarterbacks here and there, and then if they end up looking really good in preseason, you trade them for higher picks than you took them, whether it's Mark Brunell, whether it's Aaron Brooks. You know, I mean, they just kept taking quarterbacks in the draft somewhere between kind of rounds 3 through 7. And then they would look good in preseason, or if they had to fill in a game or two, they're like, look, we're still going with Brett Favre. And then New Orleans would say, well, how about a second-round pick for Aaron Brooks? You know, and they're like, all right, we'll turn it into a second-round pick, and in the 4th round, we're going to take another quarterback. So I do like that philosophy, but the Cowboys don't, right? They're the history of Jerry Jones. He could care less about quarterbacks in the draft.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm pretty sure you're going to bring back Cooper Rush and not draft a quarterback.
All right. What I like about this is there are lots of options to look at. Some of these guys go all over the board. Kevin, the other day we were having a discussion about we did kind of do a mock draft board kind of idea. We went through that a little bit.
Okay.
There's a linebacker from Arkansas I want you to take a look at.
Okay.
Bucky Brooks just came out with a new mock draft. I bet Kevin wants to know who the Cowboys are taking.
Well, Mike, send that to me. We'll do that tomorrow during the C-Block. The one name that kept popping up
By
yesterday
the way, is just real quick. Is that linebacker Drew Sanders?
Yeah.
Or am I okay?
Yes. The one name that kept popping up though was Hendon Hooker. Obviously, the year that he had with Tennessee this year. Obviously, he has the ACL tear that ended his season, and he will not be able to participate. He's on the Senior Bowl roster, but not able to participate because he's healing from that. You have Tyson Bagent from Shepherd, Malik Cunningham from Louisville, Max Saw from TCU, Jake Hayner from Fresno State, Jaron Hall out of BYU, and Clayton Tune out of Houston. That's this year's quarterback crop. And an NFL scout said, is there one you'd bang the table for? I don't know. I don't know you have a clear-cut starter projection right now, but that could change. And obviously seeing how a guy like commands the huddle, commands the offense, like they don't know everything, but how do they go up to the line and get everybody started and get like that's how Baker Mayfield moved up. You go back and watch Baker Mayfield. He steps off the plane late for the Senior Bowl, walks up, and everybody's like, can't wait to see what this guy does. Commands the offense, and then all of a sudden the Browns are like, man, this dude's rocketing up the board for us right now. So this is a really good opportunity for some of that to happen. Who do you think, Kevin, because you're a big college football guy.
Yeah.
Out of those guys, is Hendon Hooker one of those guys you're really interested in like later on?
I like Hendon Hooker. There's a couple of things to consider right there is – I don't know if I should fairly judge it like this, but he is coming off an injury, one. Also, his Tennessee team beat the brakes off of Clemson without him in that bowl game. And then also, he's already 25.
Yeah.
Like, again, those are just things to consider. I do think Hendon Hooker is very, very good. I like him better than Max Duggan. Like, I'm sorry to the TCU folk. I'm not trying to run him down or anything, but I would take Hooker over Duggan for sure.
Would you take him over Stetson Bennett?
They could take Stetson Bennett to jail.
All right, this is. I'm going to skip question 2.
Did he go to jail or?
I'd probably not. I just, it's just.
He was arrested.
I know.
Here.
Yeah, but I don't know if he actually like went to jail or Stetson Bennett the third bailed him out or whatever.
Is he the fourth?
Yes, he is.
The second question was about tight ends, and I think we're solid at tight end right now. So
Okay.
I'm not really interested in that. I'm sure that's going to be a player at some point in the draft because it could push other players down to you because tight ends might be of interest for other people. But number 3 is something that I'm a little concerned about.
Okay.
Is it a down year at wide receiver? And like I'm starting to see people already say this, and it's starting to concern me a little bit because we've had lots of very deep wide receiver drafts over the last 3 years now, where the talent level is pretty elite. So they say among the buzziest names coming in this week, SMU's Rashee Rice, Virginia's Dontavion Wicks, Ole Miss's Jonathan Mingo, and Nebraska's Trey Palmer, and Princeton's Andre Iosiavas. So I don't even know if I said that right, but there are lots of names. Wrong. Yeah, it all sounded wrong as I was saying it. That's
so
for sure.
rude.
But Wicks entered this season as a dark horse top 50 prospect, and he had some impressive skills. He had 1,203 yards and 9 touchdowns in 2021. And then there's some other names in there, but I'm like Christian Watson was a guy who he was a guy that you got eyeballs on, and then you were like, oh, are you pairing that guy up with Aaron Rodgers? Like that became a big deal, and they did team up for some pretty special games this year. It's just not quite as deep in this range as I'm looking at yet, but that could change a lot here in the next few weeks and months.
So we need to scout wide receivers harder to see if reality meets just the general thoughts so far.
Yeah, I mean with the Cowboys too, Kevin. Like Mike and I've been talking about this a lot. What are you doing if you don't? If Jalen Tolbert doesn't work out, Jalen Tolbert's a big mystery for us right now. And you're like, because the guy that I saw on film last year, I liked a lot, but I don't know what to think because the Cowboys couldn't get him on the field for whatever reason. Which running backs can improve their stocks the most? I don't think, Kevin, you're going to see Bijan. All right,
he's not a senior though, is he?
Yeah, he is not.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why that you're not going to see that guy. But you're seeing a lot of different running backs names. Here are some names that have popped up out of the Senior Bowl over the last few. You got Brian Robinson Jr. Have you ever heard of him, Kevin?
Yes.
He was shot. I don't know if you know this. And then the NFL would not allow him to be comeback player of the year despite being shot at one point and then playing again in the NFL.
Look, I thought that was an incredible story. I really did.
Yeah. So you had Brian Robinson Jr., Rashad White, who was very good for Tampa Bay this year, Damian Pierce with the Texans, Khalil Herbert, who tore it up with Chicago, Trey Sermon, Ramondre Stevenson, who's doing his work up there in New England, Michael Carter, who was doing really well in New York with the Jets, Elijah Mitchell, and Najee Harris. Those running backs have all come out of the Senior Bowl the last 2 years. So, keep an eye on a number of these guys. Eric Gray out of Oklahoma, Rashawn Johnson. There's a number of different names worth checking out this weekend.
Do they have Kenny McIntosh?
Kenny McIntosh was one of those names out of Georgia as well.
Yeah.
They said one AFC scouting director said, there's no Najee Harris, no round one guy in this Senior Bowl. I mean, obviously, you said you'd give up the farm for Bijan, but there might be 3 or 4 difference makers, and Kenny McIntosh was one of those names that was thrown in there with Eric Gray and Rashawn Johnson out of Texas.
Cory, in other mock drafts, they also have the Alabama running back going in the first round, but he's a junior too.
Okay, so another gotcha.
Yeah, so he wouldn't come out of the Senior Bowl crop for this one. And then which prospects should we be keeping an eye on in one-on-one drills? And they go back to Terrence Steele struggled badly in one-on-ones 3 years ago and went undrafted, but now has started 40 games in 3 years for the Cowboys. And so, like, this is kind of one of those where if you have a scout's eye like Brian Broaddus, you can watch and say, okay, can he grow into his body? You know, can he learn some of the leverage techniques when he gets to the NFL? Can I take that piece right there and add to it despite watching him maybe get beat by another senior across the ball from him and trying to figure out what they got there?